Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the What Fills Your Cup podcast. I am your host, Riley Alexander. Let's kickstart this episode with a check-in because why the heck not? I love having a space where I can share with my listeners or my viewers how the life of Rye is going. So, since you all asked, I am doing great. Okay, I am feeling like I am in a very good headspace. I have so much newness, and I don't think that's a word, but if it's not, I'm going to make it one, and it is the feeling of something that's new and spectacular and amazing going on in my life. I have so much newness going on in my life. I think that is actually a word, okay? So disregard that little spiel of me creating a new definition for the word, but things have been so wonderful on this end of things. And that is actually kind of rare for me because I feel as though at times I will really go into these spirals, and whether that be me feeling as though I'm not doing enough in my life, whether that makes me feel like I'm behind than my peers in my life, or whether I'm just feeling unfulfilled with whatever is around me, I do tend to spiral a lot, and I've been really working on trying not to do that anymore. 2025 is the year of no spirals, okay? I have just been really on top of ensuring that I am totally removing that negative self-talk when it comes to talking about myself. I've just been in a really good mindset lately. And with that, I feel as though I have been reconnecting with people that I love or missed, and reaching out to people that maybe I was scared in the past to reach out to. And overall, I'm just feeling really good. For the first time in a hot minute, things are actually going okay over here. And I'm cherishing this time. I am absorbing it. I am soaking it in. I am not trying to self-sabotage or remove it. I am just taking it as it comes and reminding myself that I deserve it. I deserve to feel peace. I deserve to feel happy. And if you haven't been told today, you also deserve to feel peace, happiness, love, and care every single day. So kind of touching on that a little bit, I have reconnected with a few friends from past years, and that has just been such a wonderful experience. It makes me so very happy. It makes me so proud of the growth that I have endured over the past few years, and also a really good self-reflection time. I feel like self-reflection is kind of what I'm talking about in this week's episode. Now, the title of this episode is going to be How to Stop People Pleasing. Because with self-reflection, that is a huge part of it, in my opinion at least. And looking back on the person I was in my early 20s and my late teen years, I was very much a people pleaser. And I was also very much someone that would just agree with the room to agree with the room and not actually have or state my own feelings or opinion, because I wanted to just please the crowd. And I wanted to make sure I fit in, and I wanted to make sure no one thought I was trying to argue with them. And then when I would state my opinion, I would feel very passionate about it. And that's when it got hot-headed. As I've grown up, and through a lot of therapy, I will add, I've learned how to properly communicate my feelings in a level-headed, calm manner, and to not always react. I've touched on this before, but I am a very reactive person, and it is something that I'm really working on, and it is something that I know I don't like about myself, how reactive I am, whether that be defensive or whether if you don't agree with my opinion, I can't take it, and I'm more of just like, well, no, listen to my opinion. Why don't you agree with my opinion? My opinion is right. And honestly, through therapy and my partner, I have really, really learned how to sit back, listen, see both sides, and also still give my opinion or my view of things in a respectful, calm way. I'm going to circle this back to the people-pleasing topic. When I was in my late teens and early 20s, as I mentioned, I would just agree with the room. and I didn't want to cause any kerfuffle or chaos. And that also led me to saying things that maybe I necessarily didn't believe or didn't actually agree with. And I was just saying them to agree with my peers, especially with friendships. And especially with growing up, it is easy to get in those little spirals of, I just want to agree with everyone to keep the peace in where I am now. But then 99% of the time, I would go home and feel like shit for speaking about something that, again, I didn't necessarily agree with. Now, with my ADHD, and I talked about this in my episode of how I got my diagnosis and a little bit of the story of my ADHD experience, masking is a huge part of having ADHD. And masking is almost adapting to the room that you're in just to feel as though you can fit in, or that maybe other people would feel like I'm cool, I say in quotations. And as I've learned more about my diagnosis, masking is something that I'm really trying to relieve and eliminate in my life, whether that be outgrowing friends that I felt as though I would mask constantly around, or maybe individuals in my life that I feel as though I had to put on a front, or I couldn't actually speak my mind because I knew they would disagree, or maybe I just overall felt like I wasn't 100% authentically me around them. With people pleasing and ADHD, that is something that growing up, I just always felt I was doing. And honestly, over time, it got so draining to the point where I think in my late teens, early 20s, I had just been so exhausted trying to make other people happy and putting other people's happiness before my own and not actually taking care of myself, which then evolved to me becoming not the best version of myself at all. And I can sit back and reflect on that and understand that now, obviously with the help of my therapist, but maybe I hit a wall of just, I'm exhausted. I'm tired of doing this. I can't do this anymore because it's not actually benefiting me. And by making other people happy, I am wearing myself down so much to the point I'm exhausted. But I am in this stage of my life where I now obviously still put people's happiness before my own, but not at my own cost. And that is kind of where I'm going with all of this, is I will still ensure that my friends and my family, my sister, my boyfriend are all happy and good and fulfilled in whatever they are doing in their lives, but not at the cost of losing myself in that process. If you are a people pleaser, it is easy to just give all you have, all your energy to one person and leave 0% battery for yourself. And at the end of the day, if you're constantly doing that, newsflash, by 5 p.m., you're going to be freaking exhausted and you're going to have nothing to give to anyone, to yourself. And that's where I think that, not divide necessarily, but I think that's where that unhealthy people-pleasing acts come from. A big part of people-pleasing comes from setting boundaries. And also, as mentioned, using your own voice, your own opinion, your own judgment, and not being afraid of having someone disagree with you. And you should be able to disagree with your friends and not be scared of their response. And I think that is something that I did not know in the past, or I would try to avoid. And with that, I would then just agree with whatever they were saying, when in reality, I didn't actually agree with what they were saying. I would agree for the sake of agreeing. And I would do things, maybe acts of service, that I actually couldn't fit in my day, but I would do them because I wanted the other party to be happy. Again, with putting other people's happiness before my own. And I'm going to tell you right now, you will hit a wall, you will crash And you'll probably have a breakdown. And let me tell you, I had that breakdown, okay? Now, I wanted to talk about some of the steps of how I recognized that maybe I was being a people pleaser and not actually staying true to my own thoughts, beliefs, and values. I think the number one step of all of that is becoming aware of it and reflecting on yourself a little in that situation and realizing, okay, what are my core values? What are my true beliefs? What is it that I want my friends to know about me or feel about me when I walk into the room? Self-awareness is so important. It's also very, very hard. And reflecting on yourself is not an easy task, but it is something that we all should at least try to constantly do. I know for me, for example, I am constantly trying to reflect on things throughout my day, what I can do better, how I can be a better partner, sister, family member, friend. I am almost a little, at times I feel too self-aware to the point where I'm in my therapist's chair saying, well, I got my answer and I know that that's my answer, but I don't know how to put action to that. And she's kind of looking at me like, yeah, this is where I step in. So thank God I have another party to be able to tell me right from wrong and give me advice, but also being aware of, okay, this is where I'm not agreeing, or this is where I'm feeling my energy is being drained, and reflecting on that is the first step. Awareness of who you are people pleasing, awareness of why you are people pleasing, and awareness of how you feel when you're people pleasing. Because I'm sure it's not going to be 100% positive, if I'm being honest. Now, with the self-awareness, I think the next step would be to trying to find the root of where that's coming from. Discovering where or why that may trigger you, or why that might be a trigger for you, in the sense of, okay, this person and I do not have the same view on this, but I'm just going to agree with them anyways because I want to please the room. Why is it that you're doing that? Where is that stemming from? And overall, connecting your mind to your body and finding the path of where that root is coming from. Could be from your childhood, could be from an experience that you experienced in your early adulthood, could be from in your early 20s of, oh my gosh, this situation is why I have to people please because it freaked me out. I almost lost a friendship. Connecting to where that root is stemming from is also something that I think is very, very important when it comes to avoiding or stopping in the case of people pleasing. Another part of people pleasing is the emotional regulation part. And I had mentioned that I am a very reactive person. But people pleasing isn't always about making other people happy. At the same time, it could be avoidance of a conflict or a disagreement, an argument, a blow up. That's also where people pleasing can stem from, is avoiding a possible outcome that you do not want to partake in. And I totally understand all of those emotions and feelings and avoiding something that you do not want to confront, because I really do believe that a lot of us at the end of the day want to avoid conflict, want to avoid arguments, and want to avoid disconnect from others, because that can also feel very isolating. But I feel as though understanding how to emotionally regulate yourself and be able to articulate your feelings and emotions in a manner that is respectful, but also setting that clear boundary with someone else, by learning how to do that, that will not result in a disagreement or a big fight. If anything, if it does, that says more about the other person than it does you and your emotions and your values and your beliefs, and allowing yourself to know that you're walking away from that conversation or that situation, I should say, in a way that I held myself at a very respectful manner. I am not responsible for how that other person reacted. But I did really want to touch on the fact that people pleasing isn't always about making other people happy. It can also be the sense of avoidance of, I don't want to disagree with you. I don't want to get in an argument because that scares me. And that is something that I am trying to avoid. So I'm just going to agree with you to avoid that possible outcome. One of the final things I really wanted to talk about in terms of people pleasing is ensuring that you are constantly connected with yourself. Understand your values, understand your beliefs, understand what you stand by and for as an individual. People that have those same values and beliefs will gravitate towards you. You will have lots of things in common. You will be able to discuss openly about conversations or feelings, and if there is a disagreement, given that you have at the end of the day the same core values, it will not result in something that you feel as though you need to avoid. Decluttering all the past expectations or stressors that you felt at a certain time in your life and coming back to, okay, where do I stand now? That is one of the most important things. And that kind of touches on self-awareness, but connecting with yourself and what you stand for is just as important as being able to have that self-awareness of reflecting on who you are and what you stand by. I think with reconnection to the self, you are able to take those authentic pieces of who you are and what makes you you and lead with that authenticity. I think that is a really beautiful characteristic when people can lead with who they are truly to the core and when they're unapologetically themselves. And I think when you lead with your authentic self, you are going to gravitate other people towards you that honestly probably have the same characteristics that you do as well. Overall, with all that I'm trying to share right now, people pleasing is something that's very, very hard. And at times I do catch myself doing that out of, I need to avoid conflict or I need to avoid the possible outcome of this situation, which wouldn't be an ideal one. But at the same time, I would rather walk away knowing that I stayed true to myself and I connected with myself throughout that entire conversation or ordeal, I should say. And I can walk away feeling as though, okay, well, I didn't agree for the sake of agreeing. I didn't back down because I was scared of an argument or disagreement. And I was self-aware enough to be able to speak my mind and speak my mind in a respectful way, but also a way that was led with confidence and maturity. I hope that out of this episode, you guys were able to just hear me kind of talk about my experience with people pleasing, a little bit about why I might have people pleased more in the past, and some of the tools and steps that I've used and taken to avoid people pleasing and to make sure that I'm filling my cup with what makes me happy and with what I truly stand by and for and believe in. I hope this episode makes sense, if I'm being honest. I don't have an outline and I'm just speaking my thoughts as they come to my brain. So I feel as though at times some of these solo episodes can be a little bit clusterfucked, but that's okay. And that's what makes me me. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope it also gave you a little bit of insight and also give you the time and space to reflect on the topic of people pleasing. Before I sign off, I wanted to thank you guys so much for listening to another episode. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. If you haven't heard it today, I love you, and do not forget to tell someone you love them because you never know who needs it a little extra. Bye, you guys. I'll see you on Sunday for another episode.